In the sweeping expanse of ancient Canaan, nestled between mighty empires, the story of the Jewish people began to take form. Over 3,000 years ago, in this land of shifting sands and shimmering Mediterranean shores, the Hebrews emerged. Their story, woven with faith and prophecy, began with the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It was Abraham, originally from the distant Mesopotamian city of Ur, who first heard a divine call. This call wasn't just a personal revelation. It was a covenant, a promise of a vast lineage and a land for his descendants. Canaan was the land promised, and the Jewish people's unbreakable bond with it was forged. But their journey was neither linear nor simple. Descendants of Jacob found themselves in Egypt, drawn initially by the sustenance the Nile's land offered against the harshness of famine. What began as refugee transformed into chains, as the Jews found themselves toiling not for themselves, but for pharaonic ambitions. Their cries under the weight of oppression echoed until they reached the ears of Moses, a man of Egyptian royalty but Hebrew blood. Moses, through divine interventions, led the Hebrews out of Egypt, parting the Red Sea and guiding them through the Sinai Desert's vastness. Mount Sinai became more than a geographical landmark. It was here that they received the Torah, a divine set of laws and the bedrock of Jewish faith. This was their guiding star as they made their way back to Canaan. Upon their return, battles and conquests awaited as they sought to establish their foothold in the Promised Land. Under the leadership of figures like Joshua, the 12 tribes, each named after one of Jacob's sons, began to shape their destiny. However, tribal confederacies had their limits. A united kingdom emerged, bringing forth the era of kings. King David, with his harp and his valor, not only unified the tribes but made Jerusalem the heart of the Jewish world. His son Solomon further elevated this legacy by building the first temple, a symbol of faith and unity. But as history often shows, golden eras face trials. The united monarchy splintered into the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. This division, though a moment of political fragmentation, couldn't sever the spiritual and historical tapestry that had been woven. The Jewish narrative, born in Canaan's ancient landscapes, was a testament to both unity and division, highs and lows, but above all, an unyielding spirit that connected them to their homeland. After settling in Canaan, the Hebrews, under the leadership of figures like King David and Solomon, saw their influence grow. Jerusalem, under David's rule, became not just a political center but also a spiritual beacon, housing the first temple built by Solomon. This temple not only represented their devotion to God, but also the unity of the 12 tribes. However, unity was challenged post-Solomon. The region split into two kingdoms. The northern kingdom, often referred to simply as Israel, and the southern kingdom of Judah with Jerusalem as its capital. The two kingdoms, although sharing a religious and cultural lineage, had distinct histories. The northern kingdom faced invasions and, eventually, in 722 BCE, fell to the Assyrians. Its inhabitants, often referred to as the 10 Lost Tribes, were exiled and assimilated into various regions of the Assyrian Empire. Judah, on the other hand, managed to retain its identity for a longer period. Yet, it too faced challenges. In 586 BCE, the Babylonians, led by King Nebuchadnezzar, besieged Jerusalem, leading to the destruction of the first temple. The elite of Judah were taken to Babylon, in what is known as the Babylonian exile. Here, away from their homeland, the Jewish community retained their beliefs and traditions, with scholars and prophets like Ezekiel playing a pivotal role in preserving their faith. The Babylonian exile was not permanent. Persia, after defeating Babylon, allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem. Under leaders like Ezra and Nehemiah, the Second Temple was constructed, and Jerusalem was rebuilt. However, the region became a focal point for various empires. The Persians were followed by the Greeks under Alexander the Great. The attempt by the Seleucid king, Antiochus IV Epiphanes, to Hellenize the Jews led to the Maccabean revolt, resulting in a brief period of Jewish autonomy under the Hasmonean dynasty. Yet, autonomy was fleeting. The Romans, expanding their vast empire, took control of the region. Under Roman rule, the Second Temple, an emblem of Jewish identity, was destroyed in 70 CE following a Jewish revolt. This event marked a significant diaspora as Jews dispersed throughout the Mediterranean, Europe, and beyond. These migrations led to the establishment of Jewish communities in various parts of the world, from Spain to Persia. Each community, while retaining core Jewish teachings, adapted and integrated elements of their host cultures. In Spain, for example, the golden age of Jewish culture saw Jews contributing significantly to science, philosophy, and arts, while in Persia, they played key roles in trade and scholarship. Yet, diasporic life was not without its challenges. Throughout history, Jews faced periods of acceptance interspersed with periods of persecution, laying the groundwork for their resilience and adaptability in diverse environments across the globe. The story of the Jewish people, from the hills of Jerusalem to communities worldwide, is one of persistence, faith, and a continuous connection to their ancestral homeland. As Jewish communities took root in regions far from Jerusalem, their experiences varied greatly, shaped by the cultures and politics of their adopted lands. Life in the diaspora was a complex tapestry of growth, integration, and challenges. In Spain, during what's often called the Golden Age, which spanned from the 8th to the 12th centuries, Jewish communities flourished under both Muslim and Christian rule. Jews, Christians, and Muslims coexisted relatively peacefully, leading to a vibrant period of intellectual and cultural exchange. Jewish scholars like Maimonides made significant contributions to philosophy, medicine, and religious thought, drawing from both their Jewish heritage and the knowledge of their host societies. Yet, this harmonious period was not universal nor everlasting. The later Middle Ages saw the rise of the Almohads, a Berber Muslim dynasty in Spain and North Africa. They imposed stringent conversion policies, leading many Jews to flee or outwardly convert while secretly practicing their faith, becoming crypto-Jews. In the East, in places like Babylon, which is present-day Iraq, Jewish communities had a long-standing presence. The academies of Sura and Pumbedita became centers of Jewish learning, where much of the Talmud was composed. These centers of scholarship solidified the Jewish intellectual and religious traditions during times of dispersion. But shadows often followed light. In Europe, starting in the High Middle Ages, Jews faced increasing persecution. Accused of various misdeeds, from desecrating the host to poisoning wells, they became scapegoats during times of societal stress, particularly during events like the Black Plague. This scapegoating reached brutal heights in the form of pogroms, organized and often violent riots against Jewish communities. These events were particularly rampant in the late 19th and early 20th centuries in the Russian Empire. Pogroms led to the loss of life, property, and further displacement of Jewish communities. The Jews of Eastern Europe developed a rich cultural life despite these adversities. The Yiddish language thrived, producing literature, theater, and music that reflected both the joys and sorrows of diasporic life. Communities established synagogues, schools, and mutual aid societies, ensuring both spiritual and material sustenance. In response to these challenges, various movements arose. Some, like the Haskalah or Jewish Enlightenment, aimed to integrate Jewish communities into European secular culture while retaining a distinct Jewish identity. Others, seeing the repeated patterns of persecution, began to dream of a return to their ancestral homeland, setting the stage for the modern Zionist movement. Throughout all these experiences, one theme remained constant for the Jewish people: the balance between preserving their unique identity and adapting to their surroundings. Whether in the courts of Cordoba, the academies of Babylon, or the shtetls of Eastern Europe, the Jewish spirit remained undiminished, always seeking a way to thrive amidst adversity. The winds of change began to blow more ominously across Europe as the 20th century progressed. The aftermath of World War I left the continent scarred and seeking answers, with many nations facing economic hardship and political unrest. In this climate of uncertainty, extremist ideologies found fertile ground, and none was more destructive than the rise of Nazism in Germany. Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party's ascent to power in 1933 marked a dark turning point. Propagating a vicious form of anti-Semitism, the Nazis blamed Jews for Germany's perceived ills and downturns. The Nuremberg Laws of 1935 stripped German Jews of their citizenship and civil rights, setting a chilling precedent for what was to come. In the late 1930s, the systematic persecution escalated. The nightmarish events of Kristallnacht in 1938 saw Jewish businesses, synagogues, and homes attacked across Germany and Austria, signaling a shift from discriminatory policies to open violence. But even these horrifying acts were only a precursor to the Nazis' most sinister plans. World War II, which erupted in 1939, expanded the Nazis' reach. As they conquered territory across Europe, millions of Jews found themselves under Nazi rule. What began as forced ghettoization and brutal work details soon evolved into a horrifyingly efficient system of extermination. Death camps, the most notorious being Auschwitz, Treblinka, and Sobibor, were established primarily in occupied Poland. Here, the final solution to the Jewish question was brutally executed. Men, women, and children were transported from all corners of Europe, often in cramped cattle cars, to face unspeakable horrors. Those not killed immediately in gas chambers faced starvation, forced labor, and brutal medical experiments. While the Holocaust was centered in Europe, its reverberations were felt worldwide. Jewish communities from Greece to the Netherlands, from France to Lithuania, were decimated. The vibrant tapestry of Jewish life that had been woven over centuries faced unprecedented destruction. By the war's end in 1945, 6 million Jews, two-thirds of Europe's Jewish population, had perished. Yet, amidst this darkest of periods, rays of humanity shone through. Resistance took many forms, from the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising to individuals like Raoul Wallenberg and Oskar Schindler, who risked their lives to save Jews. Additionally, Jewish partisans in the forests of Eastern Europe and individuals in occupied territories sabotaged Nazi efforts and provided aid to Jewish communities. World War II reshaped the global landscape, with nations reeling from its catastrophic impact. For the Jewish people, the Holocaust was not just a tragedy among others, but a cataclysmic event that would fundamentally reshape their collective identity and destiny. The clarion call for a safe homeland became even more urgent, propelling the momentum toward the establishment of a Jewish state. Even before the devastation of World War II, the seeds of a movement were taking root among Jews worldwide, a movement that sought to address the age-old yearning for a return to their ancestral homeland: Zionism. Theodor Herzl, often considered the father of modern political Zionism, crystallized these aspirations in the late 19th century. Disturbed by anti-Semitism he witnessed in Europe, especially the Dreyfus Affair in France, Herzl envisioned a Jewish state as the solution. His writings and leadership culminated in the First Zionist Congress in Basel in 1897, which proclaimed the aim of establishing a home for the Jewish people in Palestine. While Herzl provided the political framework, waves of Jewish immigrants, or aliyahs, were already making their way to Palestine, then under Ottoman rule. These pioneers worked to build communities, cultivate the land, and revive the Hebrew language. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 further boosted Zionist aspirations. Issued by the British government, it favored the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. The post-World War I years saw Britain taking a mandate over Palestine, and the interwar period experienced increased Jewish immigration and settlement, despite rising tensions with the Arab population. The horrors of the Holocaust intensified the urgency for a Jewish homeland. The immediate post-war years saw an influx of Holocaust survivors to Palestine and increased resistance against British rule, both from Jewish and Arab factions. The United Nations, recognizing the complexities and seeking a solution, proposed a partition plan in 1947, which would divide Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states. The Jewish leadership, seeing this as a pragmatic step toward their dream, accepted. The Arab leadership did not. On May 14, 1948, in a historic moment, David Ben-Gurion proclaimed the establishment of the State of Israel. Almost immediately, neighboring Arab states, rejecting the new state's legitimacy, launched an invasion. The War of Independence, as it's known in Israel, was a crucible in which the young nation was tested. Against considerable odds, Israel not only survived but expanded its territories. Yet, the birth of the nation was accompanied by significant challenges, including the Palestinian refugee crisis and internal debates over the nature of the Israeli state. The creation of Israel marked a profound shift in Jewish history, a return to political sovereignty after millennia, and a beacon of hope and renewal after the depths of the Holocaust. With the declaration of the State of Israel, the landscape of the Middle East was forever altered. The surrounding Arab nations, perceiving both a territorial and ideological threat, swiftly initiated military action. This War of Independence, or the Nakba, as it's known in the Palestinian narrative, became a defining chapter in the region's history. Despite being outnumbered and recently emerged from the ashes of World War II, Israel managed to repel the combined might of its adversaries. By the armistice in 1949, Israel had expanded its borders beyond the UN partition proposal. However, this victory came at significant costs: thousands dead, a deepened Palestinian refugee crisis, and the stage set for ongoing conflict with neighboring states. The ensuing years saw a nation in rapid transformation. Jews from around the world, from Yemen to Poland, flocked to Israel, resulting in a diverse melting pot but also cultural tensions. The task was enormous: to forge a cohesive national identity from these disparate groups, all while ensuring the fledgling state's security in a hostile neighborhood. Tensions boiled over again in 1956 with the Suez Crisis. Israel, in collusion with Britain and France, sought to counter Egyptian nationalization of the Suez Canal and put an end to Fedayeen raids. Though the military campaign was swift and successful, international pressure, especially from the US and USSR, forced a withdrawal. But the seeds of conflict were sown deep, and skirmishes, tensions, and disputes continued through the late 1950s and early 60s. With regional alliances shifting and Cold War politics in play, the stage was set for further confrontations between Israel and its neighbors. By the mid-1960s, the tensions in the Middle East had reached a breaking point. A combination of territorial disputes, nationalistic fervor, and proxy Cold War dynamics set the stage for one of the most significant conflicts in the region, the Six-Day War. In May 1967, A series of events, including Egyptian mobilization in the Sinai Peninsula and the closure of the Straits of Tiran to Israeli ships, heightened the sense of an impending conflict. Israel, feeling encircled by hostile forces with Syrian, Jordanian, and Egyptian fronts, decided to take decisive action. On June 5, 1967, Israel launched a preemptive strike against Egypt, catching the Egyptian Air Force off guard. Within hours, a significant portion of Egypt's air capabilities lay in ruins. Over the next few days, Israel executed a whirlwind campaign on multiple fronts. In the south, they rapidly advanced through the Sinai Peninsula. To the east, Jordanian-held West Bank, including the Old City of Jerusalem, was captured. The Golan Heights, a strategic plateau in the north, was taken from Syria. By June 10th, a mere 6 days after it began, the war was over. The results were staggering. Israel had tripled its landmass, capturing territories that would become central to the future peace process: Gaza, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights. Yet, the victory, swift as it was, brought complex challenges. The territories came with significant Palestinian populations, setting the stage for decades of debate over their status. The 1967 borders, or the Green Line, became reference points in future peace negotiations. Internationally, the war altered the dynamics of the Middle East. Israel's rapid victory showcased its military prowess, but it also deepened the regional divide. The Arab states, shocked by the swift defeat, regrouped with an increased determination to counter Israel. The 1973 Yom Kippur War, peace treaties with Egypt and Jordan, and ongoing conflict with Palestinians were all influenced by the reverberations of those 6 days in 1967. Fast-forwarding through these eventful 50 years, the region has witnessed a blend of wars, uprisings, peace negotiations, and shifting alliances. The Oslo Accords in the 1990s brought hope, but also challenges. The turn of the century saw the rise and fall of the Arab Spring, with its profound impacts on neighboring countries. And now, in 2023, the echoes of history ring loudly. As we stand on the precipice of a new conflict, the lessons and legacies of the past remain as relevant as ever. Who knows how the unfolding events will reshape the world in the years to come? If you enjoyed this historical journey, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Each new viewer ignites our drive to share more tales from the past. Thank you.